Hello and welcome back to Spear Tackle Rugby Podcast. We are on episode 33. We have just finished watching the Springboks against Australia, round two of the Rugby Championship. And yeah, Timo, how are you?
I'm good in you, boy. It's I don't know. I don't
Do you
know
feel
if I'm
any?
feeling better or worse than last weekend.
I don't feel any better. I'm 100% honest with you.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Might as well jump straight into it. I don't know what your thoughts on it is, but I don't think we're that convincing. The first half we looked dog shit. Okay, maybe not dog shit. Maybe that's a bit rough, but we didn't look very good. I know that we tried to play a little less Danny ball. Tried to play a bit more to our strength, our DNA. Andre was very good, but other than that, I honestly don't think that we can beat the All Blacks in Eden Park the way we play here. And I know I said last weekend that we are going to win the rugby championship. I think we should delete that video because I'm backtracking big time on that.
I don't think we should count out the boxes yet. Um, it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult place to be in. We've discussed this. We've looked at it from that perspective of we need to rebuild and we need to do it systematically. Uh, I don't know. It just feels to me like there's, for lack of a better term, there's not the same commitment we've experienced in the last, build up to the World Cups. There was this buzz around South African rugby, and we don't have that, and that's concerning for me.
Yeah. I also feel like we're maybe trying a bit too many things, and now we sort of cut in the middle. Are we playing Tony ball? No, we're not playing Tony ball. We're trying to go wide. No, we're not going wide. Marnie's our 10. Then Tim from the X Chaser said on the verdict podcast with Skalkberger and Jean de Villiers, and he said that that obviously we got a lot of good players, but at some stage we need to decide who is going to be our sort of number one pick. I always used to like the fact that we had so many different options, in our key positions. But I'm also starting to feel like we should maybe try a bit less because I feel like we're caught in the middle now. We were trying to play this massive, expansive game. It backfired on us big time last weekend, and now I feel like we're sort of not 100% sure what we are or what we want to do or how we want to play. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It was to me it wasn't obviously not the most beautiful game. Once again, penalties and handling errors was a problem for the Springboks, and I mean that's what basically cost us the last weekend. Um, but yeah, I'm not convinced. I just don't think if this team, the way they play now, go to Australia next weekend. To New Zealand next weekend. I know we're only playing them on the 6th. So we have a 2 week break, which I'm very fucking thankful for. But if we had to play them next weekend, I think we'd lose terribly. I think they'd put 30 points on us.
Yeah, I think if the team of last weekend rocked up at Eden Park, we would have been massacred 60-70 nil without a doubt.
Yeah.
This team, I don't know if we would have been massacred as badly. Our defense was looking a lot more solid, which was good.
Mm.
And I'm looking at it. It's I agree and I don't agree. It's when you've got a guy that's on fire like Andre Pollard is, and Andre Pollard is on fire. He's
100%.
he's firing on all cylinders. It's very difficult for us to look at a different number 10 there and then compare. Okay. Um. So let me do this. I think it's gonna be a more fair um thing to do. I'm gonna run through the team, right?
Yeah.
Oxenche, Malcolm Marks, and Thomas
Thomas.
Thomas the
Thomas was
Tank.
good.
They were solid. Okay,
Yeah.
Oxenche was playing out of his shoes, and I was happy to see that because last weekend he was quiet. The lock pairing RG, like we discussed, before the thing, RG was a bit more quieter than I would have liked. But
Ron was good.
Ruan Orkia was solid. He was in the right positions and whatnot. Um, Franco Mostert was very quiet for me.
Yeah.
But then also more of a registered lock than a flanker. Okay,
Yeah.
Eskom. if that guy can just give away half the penalties that he's doing at the moment,
He'll be brilliant. Yes.
he would really be world class. Quagga is baked, and I'm sorry to say this because I love Quagga. He's baked. Okay.
I didn't think he played too bad, Quagga. I think I agree with Marco. I think Marco played well. He just sometimes plays too much, and he does stupid things like
that thing with Will Skelton.
I don't know what he was trying to do there, but he is good. He is a good player. But I agree with you. Franco Mostert was almost absent.
Yeah, which is sad. I think, because we tend to hear his name a lot when he does play. And we didn't hear his name a lot. Going to the back line, Grant Williams is definitely, setting himself as that starting number 9.
I agree.
But I'm going to touch on both the scrum halves. I feel that Grant Williams and Kobus Reinach, they did what a scrum half is required to do. The ball was spread, it got away cleanly. They were on point. They played the roles. They made the tackles and whatnot. So I can't give any of them, a lot of flack. Andre Pollard is just like he's on the next level.
Not ready to be replaced yet, 100%. We don't have someone.
Next level compared. And I had the privilege of watching him coming through the under 20 ranks where he captained the under 20 Springboks. Now that they were actually at the match, he had that maturity from then. It wasn't like this was something that was developed over time. It was. Damien the Island and Jesse Kriel, they were good for me, but they were averagely good. They didn't really do anything outside it. Was Jesse a very good captain in his decision making? Yes, I do feel.
How's Damien de Lende getting smashed by Rob Valentini? I don't know if you saw that. I know it's a forward against a back, but still, I don't see Damien de Lende often get smashed like that.
Yeah, Jesse Kriel as a captain option, definitely. There for the next World Cup, I can see him being there, and he takes it quite seriously. There was a lot of communication with the ref, which was good. Moving to our back three, Cheslin Colby is just he's
the best wing in the world. There's no
because he moved across the field. Kainan fucking Moody.
He was useless. Yeah, it was very bad.
And it comes to that point of. We were WhatsApping during that match, and it was brutal because he's just shit. It's just shit.
Look, it's sad because he is still very young. I think he's only 22 years old. It's weird that he's so young because it feels like we've been watching him for years. Well, we have been watching him for years. I think he debuted since he was 19, and I think he can be very, very solid. This wasn't a solid outing. This was a bad outing for him. It was very, very bad.
If I look at the Bulls wingers that were picked for the Springbok squad, I still raise the question then, Kainan Moody over Sebastian de Klerk.
I think Rassie sees the potential in Kainan Moody. I just think Kainan Moody, and I know how good he can be. He really can be an unbelievable player. I think he's better on outside center. I mean, it was earlier this year, or it was now one of the incoming series games. He was playing an outside center and he played phenomenally. Sorry, I'm Afrikaans. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he played very well. He played very well. So I think he's a better outside center than a wing. And I know for the Bulls he usually plays on wing, but he wasn't playing very well.
But I do feel I have to contradict you on that. I do think that just based on that, we've got so much better wingers than he is, and we've got so many better outside centers than we have in him in any case.
I feel like Mapimpi would have actually, I know Mapimpi is also getting old, but I think he would have had he's probably in a better form than Kainan Moody for me on a wing.
At the moment, the under 13 team that was playing down the road from us this morning had better wings than Kainan Moody. No, I'm sorry, we as South Africans, we generally go straight to the point, and Kainan Moody was shit, and he needs to either tell Rassie, listen, I'm shit, I don't want to play, or I don't know what Rassie's saying, because at the moment, it's 2 games now, no, I think it's time to let Kainan slide. Apelele Fassi is good under the eyeball, and I'm seeing a lot of that confidence coming back. Rassie mentioned at the beginning of the Rugby Championship was that him and Damian Willems are battling with a bit of confidence and stuff like that. So I see with Apolele Fassi, I see that confidence coming back a bit. He was good under the high ball. He was pretty solid on defense. You know, but before I go, 20 minutes into the game, South Africa had missed 4 tackles. All 4 of those tackles was missed by Canon Moody.
Yeah.
And one of them led to a try. I don't know what his positioning thought was there or whatnot. Looking at the reserves, the 3 forwards that came on with Wilco and Bowen Venter, Bowen Venter was surprising. His ball carries were solid. He was hungry. And that's what we want to see, the guy that comes in having that hunger to bleed for South Africa. Okay.
Yeah.
Eben and Lua just came on and made a massive impact defensively, and the physicality was next level.
Yeah.
You know, looking at Andre Esterhuizen, I'm going to say this. You know, I was critical about Andre Esterhuizen before we even started discussing, before we got to the podcast, and I wasn't a big fan of him. They need to be very careful what they're doing with Andre. I don't like this coming in as a forwards replacement when you're a recognized, you know, inside center. I'm not a big fan of that. The guy's a professional rugby player. Treat him like a professional rugby player, not as a commodity.
I'm just happy to see him in a Springbok shirt, you know, regardless of where he plays.
But he needs to play in his position, and at the moment, I'm going to say this: he is the better inside center that we've got at the moment.
Damian de Linde. You think he's better than Damian de Linde?
I think he's better than Damian de Linde. I think he's better on defense. I think he's attacking. I mean, there was a what's its name with de Linde and Eskom.
Yeah.
And it was because Van Staden didn't know what de Linde was doing.
Yeah.
And he ran into his teammate, which caused the obstruction, right?
Penalty,
No, there was no that we don't need that anymore. With Andre Esterhuizen, you know he's going to go one direction, and that's that direction.
Through you.
He's not going to hold back. You know, Reinach came on. Big fan of Reinach. I'm so glad he's coming to the Stormers. I think he's older, but he still plays his role as scrum half very well. Yeah. He comes on, he gets the job done. He's solid on defense, and he gets it. Then the last replacement, and I know we disagree so much on this particular individual. He's a dud.
Yeah. Look, I think there's potential in him. There's potential. I know I didn't think he had the best game, but there is potential in him. You know, he brings that fire. So I'm actually glad you bring this up, not specifically about Sasha, but just talking about the bench. I would obviously have made a few changes. I'm not Rassie. I'll never be Rassie. Rassie is an unbelievable coach, and I do think he's the best coach in the world. But I do think, you know, he needs to reset. Him and his team need to sit down, and we're very lucky that we have 2 weeks before we play the All Blacks. And we need to try to figure out what we're going to do. But talking about Sasha makes me think of what I would have probably changed. So this weekend we obviously played a lot more conservative. You know, taking the 3 when they're on offer. You know, kicking as much. Yes, I don't even know how many kicks we put in, but you know, kicking the ball, trying to sort of move away from that Tony ball, like we did. You know, playing a boring brand of rugby, as like the Kiwis like to say. And then last weekend we obviously tried to play you know, very attacking. We played very wide, and I think that obviously cost us in the long run. You know, I think that we were playing too much rugby at sorts. I think what we need to do is we need to try and find a balance. You know what I'm saying? Now, you know, if you look at the first 20 minutes of last weekend, there's no denying that's probably the best we've looked in a long time. You know,
but we discussed it. We did the same thing against Argentina last year, where we were just massacring.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you. We need to find that balance.
Yeah.
And Victor Matfield post match said this, right, and it's something that I agree with 100%.
Yeah.
You need to play in the right places.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't attack from your own try line.
Yeah.
You need to use your kicking game, and we've got a very dominant kicking game because of the wingers we generally have when we don't play Kane and Moody.
Yeah.
Where we are generally in positions where our wingers do a lot of work to get the ball back.
Yeah.
and there's generally a lot of there's generally a lot of support play. I mean, if you look at that last 5 to 10 minutes, whenever Cheslin was chasing the ball, did you notice who was on his inside every time? Was the big man, Eben. You know,
Yeah.
he was putting in the yards, he was putting in the
Yeah.
work.
He played
Um,
well. Yes, he played
yeah.
well.
So I do think that is a thing, and I'm going to say this. Moving on to the Australian side, just for a second, I'm going to give a lot of credit to Australia. They came here as bad
Yeah.
underdogs. We really,
Yeah.
I think we underestimated them. We were brutal on them. And I don't want to be brutal on them just because I don't like, one or two of the players like Nick White
Yeah.
and that idiot Skelton. But they came here and they put up a fight. They didn't
Yeah.
come here and was going
They've
to
got
go
some.
like,
Yeah, they have
yeah.
some world-class players. There's no two ways
Look,
about
the
it.
thing is that backline is young. I was looking
Yeah.
when they were announcing the team. They've got a very, very young backline. If I was any coach in World Rugby at the moment, for the next World Cup, my worry would be that Australian backline,
Yeah.
because that
100%.
Australian backline is
Yeah.
fuck, they're quick.
If the
I haven't
passes stick,
seen dude, they're
Yeah.
quick. And that
Yeah.
winger that was playing, dude, I haven't seen that speed in a very, very long time. It was
both of them played
yeah,
very
it
well.
was, and I'll give a lot of credit. James O'Connor, obviously, a lot of our
Mystics.
but a lot of our when I was younger, we got to see James O'Connor. When he was very cocky, and he's
Yeah.
matured into this world class fly off. It's
Yeah.
it's that composed thing. We were lucky that he missed those kicks because I
Oh,
mean, up
yeah.
until that point, he was not missing. But it's that maturity. Nick White, obviously, hope he recovers from the HIA and
Great,
and, and
very good
whatnot.
prices. Yeah.
Um, you know, lets me think a lot about George Gregan of back in the day. We just love to hate him because he's irritating as shit.
Yeah.
But that's what a scrum off is supposed to do. You need to be irritating. You need to, your scrum off is like a wicket keeper in cricket. There's constantly that yapping.
Yeah.
And that's something that he does very well. He probably gets into most opposition supporters and most opposition scrum offs head all the time because he doesn't shut his fucking mouth. I want to move on because I've got a bit to say about this. So if you want to say something before I go on my rant.
I just wanna. I know what you're gonna rant about, and
Yes.
I'm just gonna listen. I don't wanna. But I don't know. I'm not trying to outplay the Wallabies to make our near loss and our loss lesser. But they really are starting to look world class. You must look at this Wallaby team has been together for long. I mean, they've been coming through the Lion series, a tough fought Lion series.
And they're young. They're a young
They're
team.
young. And there's a lot of very, very good players in that team. Like I don't know. And I wish that the fullback, I don't forget his name, whatever the fullback's name is. He got injured, and obviously I wish he recovers very quickly, especially before they play the All Blacks, because I really hope to beat the All Blacks.
Yeah.
But I was actually sort of relieved when I saw he was going off the field because I know how good he can be. And they were going through it. I mean, there was how many injuries to that team, and they still kept. It was still in the fight.
They showed a lot of character today. I'll give them a lot of credit for that.
The Wallabies are really starting to become a very good team again. So I'm not saying that they're definitely not top three yet. I mean, they also had a few opportunities that they threw away. But if those passes start sticking, they'll be unstoppable. They look dangerous, ball in hand. The problem is, there's always just either they pass it out or knock the ball on, or it's just the cohesion is not there yet. But obviously they had a few opportunities. Thankfully for us, hopefully it gets better. Hopefully it gets better later in the year. I mean, in the Rugby Championship. But they are really starting to look very, very good. I mean, that Rob Valentini. My wife calls him broccoli. Yes, I am ginger and I am married. I know that must be hard to believe, but she always used to call him broccoli, and he's very, very good. He really is, and I don't think I've ever seen him have a bad game. He looked very good in the British and Irish Lions tour as well. I remember what difference him and Will Skelton made. Like, Will Skelton wasn't very good. This series against the Springboks. He was very good against the British Irish Lions, but not really that impactful now. But I'm excited to see how good the Wallabies can get. I'm hoping that they don't get the wooden spoon. I think this team. My prediction is that this team beats Argentina. and beats the All Blacks at least once,
At
hopefully.
home,
You know?
at home match. Well,
Yeah,
well, it could be, because they're playing one away to the All Blacks and one at home to the All Blacks.
yeah.
For
And
the
I
Rugby
know,
Championship.
the All Blacks and the Wallabies have a very, very deep
That's the
rivalry.
beautiful thing if you look back at it. We are only as strong as the opposition we play.
100%.
And
We need a strong.
we need a strong Australia. We need a strong New
100%.
Zealand.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the improvements that have gone through the Argentinian team since they've joined the URC, they also came from a team that was very up and down with wins
Yeah.
and stuff, and they've gotten into a point where there's a more regularity behind their consistency.
Mm.
At the moment, though, and I'll probably be massacred for anybody watching this. I think from 11 to 15, I think Australia is the most dangerous two wingers, centre pairing and fullback in world rugby at the moment. I really do think
Yeah.
that. And if James O'Connor, and he recently came back, that guy at the helm, if he can keep the control over that backline that he has at the moment, we need to worry about that. We need to worry about that backline come the next World Cup, because that backline has the potential to take a game and within 10 minutes be 27 points up easily.
Yeah, and if you look at how far they've come, the Australians, I'm going to give you an opportunity now. I think we're like 20 minutes already. I don't know.
Yeah. We're okay. People love watching and listening to us, So
if you look how far they've come, and remember what a horrid World Cup they had. When Eddie Jones was taking over the coaching role, and they played very bad. Joe Schmidt came along, and he also didn't have the best start.
I was critical about that. I was very critical about that. I remember.
He only has a 50% win rate. Well, it's going to be less now after this loss. But anyways, I really think he's getting this team to where it's supposed to be, and he's leaving, which is the sad part. But yeah, well done, the Wallabies.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely give them credit, and all the best to them. We've got that love-hate relationship within the Southern Hemisphere teams. We do have a lot of respect for each other, and that's why we can go at each other so harshly, and stuff. So coming to that harsh section of it, last episode I did say we've got a lot of respect for New Zealand rugby, right? And we've got a lot of respect for their pundits. I watch Justin Marshall a lot. I watch Jeff Wilson a lot. Mills Muliaina. And we mentioned ex-players that like Smith that retired and stuff. Aaron Smith, one of my all-time favorite players, probably the best 9 that ever played the game of rugby. But your officials are shit. That referee that officiated this match was shit. It was a disgrace for World Rugby, for two of your teams that probably would fill up a stadium everywhere they play. To have a referee officiate like that is just fucking disgraceful. Apelele Fassi gets a yellow card. Yes, it was a deliberate knockdown. Yes, it was a valid yellow card. Will Skelton runs around the ruck, falls on outside of the ruck. After it was formed, nothing.
But there was a few in the breakdown. There was a few times that I thought.
We are so hell-bent right now and focused on player safety within the rules of rugby. And it has made rugby a lot softer, but it's also made rugby a lot more fun to watch because the tackles are cleaner, the tackles are more direct. But when you miss a knock on, and there was a stage in the game where the ref's mic wasn't working correctly, so we could hear the touch judges giving him the calls that they see. To allow the match to progress another 2 minutes before coming back for a knock-on, one, makes you look like an idiot, okay? Proves that you are an idiot. But secondly, in that 2 minutes, what if an injury occurred? You're putting players in an unnecessary, unsafe position due to incompetence. And that ref was incompetent. And when I mean incompetent, I think prostate cancer with a whistle would have probably officiated that match better than that referee did. It was fucking disgraceful. So James Lowe, welcome to the safe zone, because the new person on my shit list is, what is it, Cowell, right? I think it's Cowell.
I don't even remember the name.
He's the new person on my shit list now because it was a disgrace. And New Zealand, from New Zealand rugby, I I would definitely probably get that guy to retire because he's going to give you a bad name. Usually the New Zealand referees are pretty solid. They're pretty direct referees. This was a fucking disgrace.
Yeah. Look, I'm not as passionate about his performance as you are. Uh, I do agree that he didn't have the best performance, but in the same breath, I did think that we also put ourselves under pressure. I think we should have. I think we need to find, like I said before, we need to reset. We need to find a middle point on how we play. I think we need to start off with our Tony ball. And then when we do, obviously, when we do have a big enough lead, then we need to try and revert back and just keep the opposition under pressure, kick the ball into their 22.
I think I agree with it. Agree with it.
You know,
Choose the
just
places.
know,
Choose the
yeah,
places you're going to play Tony ball. I mean, you've
yeah,
got probably one of the best pinpoint kickers in world rugby as your
yeah,
default number 10, which is Andre Pollard. And I
yeah,
was joking during the whole game where I said, like, if I ever had daughters, Andre and Pollard, Eben and Polly would be my son-in-laws. Um, and I maintain that. You're sitting with probably pound for pound, the most accurate pinpoint kicker in world rugby.
yo, yeah,
Put the opposition in that pressure, get them in
yeah,
their own half, play Tony ball in their half. Don't
yeah.
play Tony ball in your own half. Tony
Or
ball
just
is
at least,
efficient.
yeah, at least just know when to sort of switch back. Like either when you have a big enough lead or when you can see it's not working.
Mm.
You need to sort of have that game sense to know that what, guys, this isn't working. Let's take a step back. Mid game, you get what I'm saying?
Mm.
Not just fucking keep on pushing what's not working. Or see, listen, as we're leading with 22 points. Let's take a deep breath. Let's reset. Let's change the way we play. Let's shake it up a bit. Let's keep the opposition under pressure. Let's try and make them play in their half. Let's try and force them to make mistakes.
Mm.
Um, but the first things first. The first thing we need to fix is we have to fix our penalty counts. It's ridiculous. Really, it is.
Yeah, I
Even the
agree.
handling errors.
I agree.
That's our discipline is not where it should be. It's the first thing, and we put ourselves under pressure. Last week we put ourselves under pressure. This weekend, there was a lot of times where we did put ourselves under pressure.
Mm.
Well done to the Wallabies, but in the Springboks, there's a lot we need to work
Honestly, I think we were very lucky to win this. I think
on. Yeah,
Australia, the mistakes Australia made was not going for the points when it was on offer.
yeah, 100%.
And I think if they had gone for the points and they'd gotten that bit of
Yeah, draw.
a cushion early in the game, where they
Yeah,
realized that, look, okay, we 3 or 4 points ahead. Let's go for the corner because we're going to keep them in their own half all the
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And that's the mentality. Rugby is a lot like a chess match with barbarians in it.
yeah,
So credit to Australia. I do think that you were underestimated completely, and
yeah,
as South African supporters, we
yeah.
appreciate the fact that you came to our shores and you
But
probably put
yeah,
up the best fight that we
yeah.
didn't even expect. We didn't
But
expect
don't.
last week's loss, and we didn't
Yeah,
expect this week to be as close
yeah.
as it was.
But don't only look good against us. Go beat the All Blacks at least once, and
Mm.
please smash Argentina. Otherwise, we're gonna look like cunts. But yeah, I think that's that. I think
Plenty.
yeah,
Oh,
I
and then
think
everybody just the next match coming up. I think it's at 11 South African time.
no,
Um,
I'm sure it's 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock. But yeah, anyways,
yeah, so please support. Obviously, go watch the rugby. It's I think it's going to be a killer. You
it
can't
is.
write Argentina off anymore, and they're playing at home. But I think the All Blacks has a bit too much class. You know, when it
Yeah,
comes to that, it's still a solid team. Um, but yeah, I'm worried. 2 weeks is a bit of a stretch, and there's gonna have to be a lot of hard meetings that's to go on at the
yeah.
Springboks.
But we're lucky that we have 2 weeks. We got 2 weeks to work on our shit. I don't think we have so much problems that it can't get fixed in this. I just think we need to decide what we want to do. How do we want to play? Because at the moment, I feel like we just
I think my biggest concern, with that is the lack of recognized loose forwards at the moment is a bit of a problem. Franco isn't generally played at 7. That's a bit of a
yeah,
problem when you play somebody that primarily plays at lock to all of a sudden come up against a world class team like Australia or New Zealand to play out
yeah,
of position. And then, you know, when you've got somebody that isn't really a recognized rugby player like Kane and Moody, to play him in any position is just a bad
Yeah.
decision.
I'm not too worried about I'm not too worried about our flankers. You know, I know you're not the biggest fan of Pieter Stefetoy at the moment. I still think he's the best loose forward in the world. But I mean, I think we said with him. I think Sia should be back by Eden Park. If he is, we should play him. But Marco van Staden's also very good. You know, we still. I think our loose forwards are kind of set. I'm more worried about our eighth man. We obviously don't have you know a solid eighth man. And we've been very unlucky. We've got Jasper Visa, you know, who's red carded. I don't think he's going to be back by Eden Park, to be honest with you. I think we'll only be back the game after. You know, we had Jean-Luc Dupria, who was sick for some reason. You know, and then Cameron Anakomo, I think, is going to be the best eighth man in the world when he actually gets his shot. But he also just always gets injured. You
And
know,
then looking at Ulrich Loh that still has to come back. Hopefully
Ulrich Loh
that
still needs to come
injury
back.
injury isn't too harsh, you
Yeah.
know. But there is still a lot of options, you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of loose forwards that in our pool of South African rugby that we can fall back on, that I feel will
Yeah.
be just as dangerous. You know, that under 20 captain, that captain the under 20s to the under 20 World
Oh,
Cup victory.
Riley Northern.
You know, he's there. That other kid, he's there. You know, there's a lot of options that's
Yeah.
lying in the
But
wind.
the problem is, are they available for Eden Park? I'm not worried about the World Cup yet, and I'm not worried about Ireland or France yet. I just really want to beat the All Blacks.
Well,
and
if you're
when
gonna
the-
choose a bunch of players that's coming off a high, by beating the All Blacks, include some of your under 20 players, because
Yeah.
they're coming off that
Yeah.
high now, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, putting a guy like Riley, and well, good news for me, he signed for the Stormers.
Oh, he did.
Yes, he did. Was watching some Curry Cup today. Angelo Davids has moved to the Lions.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they were massacred by the Cheetahs today. So,
Yeah.
good done, well done, Francie. They were the
Yeah.
Cheetahs, you know. We want to see the Cheetahs at least perform in the Curry Cup, you know.
Just final question. Now that we're talking about the Cheetahs, I know I did say goodbye already, but I'll say goodbye again. Um, so obviously, there's two of the Welsh teams are leaving the URC. I'm not exactly sure which two, and I don't exactly know how it's going to work. I just read or heard it somewhere that two of the Welsh teams are leaving the URC, and they want. I'm not 100% sure who they're going to replace them with. Do you think they can give the Cheetahs a shot?
Ideally, yes. I mean, but then it raises the question again, you know, 5 South African teams in the URC, 3 Irish
Well,
teams, you know. I,
four.
I think what we should have done with the URC is approach it a lot like they did the Premier League soccer in the UK. You know, create the first division, create a second division,
Mm,
and then go and say you've got 16 teams in the first division, 16 teams in the second division.
mm,
You've got you expose your smaller clubs to bigger rugby,
yeah.
which is financially good for them because a lot more people will come watch. But you also then put a thing in like the last 2 teams of the URC Premier League and the first 2 teams of the first division play out at the end of the season as in a promotion and relegation match, where you would then probably see teams like the Cheetahs and your smaller teams in Italy and in Ireland and wherever get that bit of an opportunity to say, but hey, look here, I mean, financially, if can you imagine the financial impact a match would have if you had Munster playing the Cheetahs in Bloemfontein? You know, that would sell out Bloemfontein. The same with Leinster. The same, you're going to bring back that derbies. You know, the Bulls and Cheetahs playing each other at Loftus and at Bloemfontein. The same with the Stormers. The same with the Sharks. I think that there's a lot of systems. If that doesn't happen, then they definitely need to start incorporating your smaller teams into your thing. If I could get my way, to be brutally honest with you, I would probably not include the Cheetahs into
Would
the
you
URC. I would probably do
Don't say from us. Don't say.
no. I would do an invitational South African team and take all the provinces, the Pumas, the Griquas, the Cheetahs, and everybody. get the coaching staff together for them and do an invitational team that incorporates all the other unions into one umbrella, and you can
I
then
would bring in the Black Lion. What's Black Lion? The Georgian team.
I don't see a reason for them not to be there, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know, Brenton. I don't know. we guys that's using a platform to just discuss our opinions, right? I mean, we can say how shit Kane and Moody is. If Rassi doesn't see it, I don't know what we're supposed to do. If I was running the URC, I would definitely look at doing divisions. And if I was South African Rugby, an opportunity did arise where we could potentially have another team in the URC,
go for it.
I would do a combinational team between like the Cheetahs, the Pumas, and the Griquas, for example.
Bring back the Cats.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that because I feel that between the Lions and the Cheetahs, the Lions will outwin that because they do have a lot more. They've got a better talent pool. So you're going to see very few Cheetahs playing in those matches in any case.
Imagine Frans Steyn coaching the Lions, or a combinational team.
It doesn't matter who coaches the Lions. Until Rudolf Stroili leaves, it's just going to be a shit show either way.
But on that note,
yes, on that note, before I go on another rant, guys, enjoy the rest of the weekend, and then we'll see you next week for episode 34. Cheers,
guys.